Welcome to the Game On podcast. Tonight, Adelaide got the scare they needed and a little bit of a wake-up call maybe. And Port Adelaide showed something that's been lacking for most of 2025. And I think the dangerous push has now come to a head, and we will see players not using that as a tactic from now on. All right, welcome to the Game On podcast. My name's Pete. Once again, joining me here in the studio is Malcolm. Malcolm, as we always do every week, how has your week been? I did see some sort of scrapes on the knuckles. What have you been doing, mate?
Yes, went over to Melbourne to run a Adelaide Uni past players function in Melbourne. Good day. Function went well. Tick the boxes in that regard.
Yes.
And I'm then on the Sky bus to go back to the airport. And the bus driver says, next stop, stop 3.
Got a little bit
Airlines
excited.
Flight, so I go to get up off the bus.
Is it because he saw the Adelaide Uni jumper there, maybe?
Yeah, so he takes off. I go straight down the stairs, hit the wall, blood everywhere. Luckily, my glasses fell off as I was coming down.
Yes.
And I did fall off in front of 3 middle-aged women who immediately all raced to get tissues and Band-Aids, etc.
Fantastic,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So, yes, I admit, I'm a tad sore.
Yep.
But yes.
Other than that, how was the functions over in Melbourne there?
Yeah, no, it was good.
I know you do a couple in Sydney and you do a couple in Melbourne.
One in Sydney and one in Melbourne, yeah.
Have you ventured over to Perth yet to do any?
No, it's where we've got enough members, and haven't got quite enough in Perth and nor quite enough in Brisbane. It's borderline.
Yep.
So yeah. If we can boost that up a bit, then it'd be a possibility.
I'm sure you guys will be on the blowers trying to get as many people to those events as possible. But hey, that's part and parcel of it. All right, mate. Just before we get into Around the Grounds, we're going to take a little bit more of an in-depth look at some cricket stuff tonight. The SANFL and the netball and a little bit of basketball because we did sort of miss it last week.
Yep.
Catching up for the last couple of weeks on football. Mate, let's get into Around the Grounds and let's see what we've got coming up in the AFL.
Around the Grounds.
All right, let's get into the AFL right from the get-go, mate. We're going to hit it quite hard, quite early. Let's start off with Port Adelaide. Where has this effort been all year? It's been up and down a bit like a yo-yo.
Yeah, okay, yeah, they did get a couple back, but exactly that. It's more, hang on, where was that effort? Because they've lost 4 games by plus 75 points. They seem to get, once they can't win or, down by 5+ goals, the dummy gets put in the dirt. And their lack of work rate, and it showed in the showdown where it was terrible. Like, 98 points in the weather that night was ridiculous.
Yep. Yeah, you can only imagine if it was dry, actually, how much it might have been.
It's crazy.
Is that a case of the Josh Carr era has already slightly begun? I mean, I know we've talked about it previously, but do you think now Kenny has actually stepped completely back because it seemed, mathematical? He wanted to be in charge for that period. Now it's almost players auditioning for their spots.
Yeah, I certainly see that point. I think Hinkley's actually protected Carr. Like if he'd resigned a few weeks ago, so Port then start 1-6 or 1-7 under Carr, hell of a lot harder to get members where now in comes Josh Carr and rah.
Yep.
So I actually think in that way he was helping Josh Carr. And
do you think Port Adelaide foresaw that potentially happening?
Possibly.
But they had high expectations.
Injuries at the start. Injuries kill you. Soon as Marshall went down, and like Lukosius, unfortunately, he did show even just glimpses last Saturday, that goal. Like
yes.
He is hugely talented, precocious Lukosius.
Yes. I know you're a big fan.
Yeah, but his body just doesn't, just hasn't held up. It's a bit of a worry. He's not that old to be doing repetitive calf injuries either.
Yep. Do Gold Coast think that they might have dodged a little bit of a bullet there, or do you think the warmer conditions up at Gold Coast might have actually helped sort of not hide those injuries, but...
Well, it helps you not doing them as often in terms of that way. But, yeah, so he's a worry. As we know, Marshall's, don't worry to spread his Achilles. As he said, he's one concussion away as it is.
Yep.
So, yeah, there's a few big question marks. Who knows what Wanganeen-Malira is going to do?
Well, we'll talk about that one. We'll talk about that one in a little bit more depth a little bit later on. So hold your fire on that one. But players that are certainty to be in Josh Carr's 22 that are currently playing at the club at the moment, apart from say the Fab 4 or the Fab 5 there.
I think he'll be very much development, like a Whitlock and Ran and those sort of guys will, they're going to get their chances.
Yep.
I thought they would have played Ran, but then I actually thought he was more ready than Whitlock. So I reckon they made a mistake, that one.
What about some of their mid-season recruits?
Yeah, well, that's Ran is one of them.
Sorry, Liddy's probably the other one that I'm
Liddy's
sort of looking at.
And, I'm trying to think. The other one hasn't played yet, and he may get picked this week.
Yep.
Was the word, but I didn't see McKinley, I think it is.
Yep.
I didn't see that there'd been an announcement of the debuts normally get announced.
Yep.
So didn't see that.
Okay. There's always room and time for a late last-minute change. What about someone like Ollie Wines? We obviously know Travis Boak, fantastic servant of the Port Adelaide Football Club, retiring. That was a really nice moment between him and Fife, and I've got that written down sort of on my little list here.
It was classy, I thought.
It was very classy, and it was a bit of a throwback to the 90s and the 80s, where, you did swap your Guernsey with a
It was
a
pretty
legend of a
obvious
player.
that Fife was going to retire doing it. But
Yep.
it was good. It was a good moment.
Two fantastic players also, Fife there for the Fremantle Football Club. Is there any other players that are going to jump up, do you think, as part of Josh Carr's new regime at Port Adelaide?
Who knows? Because Wanganeen-Malira is so complicated. I actually, yes, I love him as a player, but I don't want to sell the farm. And I reckon Adelaide would have to give away about 4 to 5 years in advance. And yes, he's a gun. Are you in the premiership window now? Yeah, maybe.
And most of their sort of top-end players are actually locked away until at least 2028, 2029.
So maybe, but geez, it's a huge amount to give up.
Yep.
And if he gets injured, geez. And I think that's been Port already, where in terms of what you had to give up with Horn France, they haven't got enough depth at the bottom end.
Yep.
Like they fall away really quickly. Yep. And I think that's the thing where, yes, it's all very well to get that star in, but
what's it cost you over the short to medium term?
And let's remember, Neil Bullen, Cumming, Peatling this year have been vital for Adelaide, improving their depth. So someone like Murphy's not a regular, etc.
Yep.
So, you do that then.
Yep.
So, I can see both sides.
Port robbing Peter to pay Paul there a little bit to get, say, someone like Nasai Wanganeen-Malira. It's going to be an interesting watch. Does Port Adelaide's development teams and coaches have the depth base, which you just sort of talked about there? We get a bit of a bird's eye view of it at the SANFL level. But is that where Josh Carr's actually got to start from?
I think a lot of those guys have got to get him in the gym.
Yep.
That was one thing which stood out. Even in the showdown, like Danny Hansen made the point, geez, we're skinny. Mm-hmm. He's a Port man in that, obviously.
Yep, shout out to a valued listener.
Yeah. So I think that's part of it. Look, it's just so hard. And you sit there at the moment, you think, well, the gap between the top 9 and the bottom 9's been so huge. How could you see one of those teams coming in next year? But things do change pretty quickly.
Absolutely. Well, you look at the form ladder for the last 6 weeks, you've got Sydney actually sitting second at the moment behind Adelaide, obviously, with a straight 6 as well. So that is going to be very interesting. Port Adelaide in the SANFL, we'll talk about this in the SANFL segment a touch later, but are they sort of gunning now for finals in the SANFL, considering that, AFL has been over for quite some time?
Well, I was sort of thinking because their injuries at AFL level, they'd fall away. So they're probably better Sunday than I hoped, obviously.
Yep, yes.
May have been following that game pretty heavily in Melbourne, a bit more than the AFL. So they play Glenelg this week. Mm-hmm. Nord play North. So it'll be surprising if it's not set up for the Nord Port game to decide who gets 5th spot.
Yep, we'll talk about that as we go along a little bit later. Port Adelaide, where do you see them at this early stage next year? Is it still redevelopment, bottom 6?
I still think it's redevelopment, but again, if they pick up Wanganeen-Malira,
all right, let's play the hypotheticals.
Play the hypothetical. him, Butters, Horn Francis, Rosie, Bergman.
Yep.
You know, that's pretty good 5 or 6 to work from. Georgiadis.
Yep.
So there's enough there to work from.
Okay, so if you sort of model it on what we've seen, probably a little closer than most in Adelaide, is that it then becomes their backline is their Achilles heel.
Yeah, and maybe Marshall goes back, has been mentioned. You know, yes, maybe they pick up a defender. I think the old comment that it's never as good as it seems and it's never as bad as it looks is pretty true at AFL
Yeah,
level.
good call. I probably see them in that bottom 6 just as a development year under Josh Carr. But the one thing we know about Josh Carr is he's going to bring a level of hardness that there'll be some non-negotiables, especially at the AFL level.
Yeah, and it was an interesting comment from Craig Burton where Craig made the point that the year North finished bottom under Josh Carr was the year he enjoyed the most. So I think that's a big tick to Josh Carr there. That was a really interesting comment from Craig.
Is that more get down, get dirty, and hey,
build for the future,
dig in?
Maybe still have some fun.
Yeah,
you know?
Throw the playbook out the window a little bit, and hey, just let footballers be footballers.
But I just think I think AFL just gets too serious for its own good at times as well. And
that could change with a few key people at the helm as well, which we did talk about off air. All right, let's move on to Adelaide, mate. Adelaide, it was certainly the wake-up call they needed. It was always going to be a little bit of a danger game that players get away from home, on holiday a little bit,
but
against the bottom side.
Bottom team, longest odds in history. Everyone's expecting you're going to win by a mile. All of a sudden, West Coast heat and pressure was easily the best it's been for the year. So that was the big surprise.
And most of the bottom 9 sides actually brought that this week. So isn't it fun? Maybe weird. A full moon, maybe. Crazy.
So I think, there was a bit. I do agree with the point Taylor Walker. It's still a massive worry that every game he misses,
structurally
and Fogarty looks lost. That's still a real worry in that regard. So, he is vital. And I also think just psychologically, you're taking that bit easy, don't want to get injured, that little step or so away, not the fanatical, fervent commitment, which is what Adelaide have been based on this year.
Absolutely.
So I just think mentally it did show how much the game's played above the years. But luckily, their big 3 were the 3 who got them over the line. Dawson, Rankin, and Thilthorpe.
Absolutely. Adelaide obviously, had that scare against West Coast. Do they need that freshening up, obviously, for the finals? But with that bye, it makes it quite hard. Is Taylor Walker almost like the Joey Danaher over at Brisbane when it comes to that structure that allows them to be a bit more potent?
It's just his footy smarts as well. And he showed that in the Hawthorn game.
And Hawthorn aren't going that badly either, which we'll talk about in a minute as well.
Isn't it incredible? We all think Brisbane, Gold Coast, terrible. Brisbane are struggling. Brisbane, premiership favourites. Their best is better than anyone else versus Collingwood. All of a sudden they're gone again. So, it's incredible.
Does Adelaide get a bit of a free hit at it, considering this will be the first time they play finals in 8 years? And look, we should celebrate that fact that has been a long burn. They were probably unlucky a couple of years ago, but they're better prepared for it now.
Yeah, I don't think it becomes a free hit when you're going to finish first or second. If you'd finish 7th or 8th, bloody oath, I reckon it's a free hit for a week or two. And if you win a final, it's still a really good year. Where now, all of a sudden, they're going to finish 1 or 2. So I think the pressure is on them.
Perfectly led into my next point there, and we talked about it just a minute ago, in expectations, is that they were expected to beat West Coast and took the foot off the pedal a little bit. Expectations finishing top 2, that they should at least make a grand final. I think that's a
I know. I think it's a bit
to be in.
Yeah, but I think that's more on the outside. I think they're okay with that, but I just think overall they're going to be expected to win at home. So.
I did hear on SEN and Wilds, who has been a previous guest of ours, and I think they talked to Blighty a bit about the comparisons to.
It was Wilds who messaged
there you go. Comparisons to, say, the 97-98 Crows side. That was quite interesting.
Yeah, it was actually. Yeah, I probably have still got a few in 97-98, like a Johnson and a Goodwin and above that. Let's not forget how good Goodwin was. In
Absolutely,
the finals.
yes, and
Sugar was pretty important as well.
absolutely. It's probably those bottom 4 or 5 players from 97, 98 that probably make that drop away just a little bit.
Yeah.
But I thought it was very interesting comparing, say, a Michael Annie to a Ben Hart, and it's almost that unheralded backline even back then in those premierships that sort of got the job done a little bit.
Ben Hart had already been All-Australian and all that, though. So, there's no doubt, though, geez, they're missing Michael Annie.
Yep.
Big time.
Yep. Any ETA on that? I know you're probably a little bit more on top of it than what I would be just at the moment.
I think he'll play the first final. It'll be interesting to see whether they get him up for the SANFL final the week before.
Yep, and we did mention that last week because I wasn't sure of the rules on that, but that's very, very interesting as well. Let's move on to Rory Laird's suspension, mate. It was upheld at the tribunal. Looking at it, first thought was, yes, that's a football collision. Yes, the young West Coast player went down, Cripps holding his head, obviously passed all of that. And then open up the paper the next morning and he's on report. I thought we were doing outcome-based suspensions. So this one I'm a little confused with, mate.
Yeah, I'm dumbfounded by the gradings. That was regarded as medium impact.
Yep.
Now, Cripps did not go off the ground.
Yes.
Certainly didn't look like a concussion test was done or anything.
And this is where my confusion comes in.
Yeah, that's where my question is, because I will be honest, I did chase up a bit, and Adelaide don't believe they could have got that downgraded. Now, I don't get that. I want to chase up more info because they threw a Hail Mary. It was stupidity what they did at the tribunal last night.
Yep.
Adelaide this year at tribunal, the Hinge and now the Laird have been incompetent, and that's being polite.
Yep.
It was horrendous.
Time for some new counsel, maybe?
Well, I admit I'm going to make the point to Tom Harley on the side that get rid of how it's lawyers. Now, that was a lawyer last night who threw a Hail Mary. It lacked football common sense.
Yep.
Now, that was a bump. It was stupid to say it wasn't a bump, for goodness sake. It was so.
If anything, it was careless. That was probably where it gets down to. Or clumsy.
Whoever came up with that crap last night has me beat. So, whoever if it was someone from Adelaide Footy Club, and got the lawyer to go along with it, they're at fault. So I just dumbfounded. I can't work it, and purely the fact he didn't go off. 2 minutes 54 seconds later, because I timed it. I checked the timing.
Yep.
He crunched a tackle. Cripps crunched an Adelaide guy for a tackle. So surely you're saying out of that,
he's okay.
He's continued. Yes, he was down, but he was only down for about 10 seconds. Yep. So I just don't get it.
And Laird was legitimately going for a smother or a block of some kind, where it was told that he did bump him.
He did bump him for mine. And look, we know now if you bump, you're taking the risk. But I don't get why Adelaide.
But that wasn't his sole. That wasn't his sole objective.
Yeah, but it's consequence. He made thing with a head, so it's on consequence.
Yeah, but you're saying consequence, but he didn't get injured, he didn't get taken off, and he didn't have concussion. So that's where the argument comes in.
Yeah, that's where I don't get Adelaide saying, "Oh no, it couldn't have been low contact." That's why I wonder if a West Coast medical report was worse than what we've seen.
Okay,
so that's
probably the only thing that I can make sense of as well. So I'm glad that you brought it up, especially when it comes to little rules like that as well, which is very, very important. We'll talk about it now.
I admit I did very much make the point to a high-ranking Adelaide official that Mark Robinson, who did the Nord report, we may have done them together, that is a mile better than what Adelaide Footy Club have at the moment. And get rid of this lawyer crap.
Yep. So player advocates, working their way
doesn't have to be a freaking lawyer for mine.
With AFL people being obviously parachuted in over the last 3 months to the AFL, are we going to see a bit more football focus rather than business focus?
I hope so, and I really hope that that's one of Hale's focuses at the tribunal. Let's get rid of the mumbo jumbo bullshit and just have footy stuff in it. That umpiring, allowing players to actually compete for a mark, not the stupidity of the incidental contact. Free kicks being paid at the moment, which is ruining the game.
What are your thoughts on these ticky touch would 50-metre penalties for stand rule?
Yeah,
I think the
There
stand
was
rule has its
two-
place.
There was 2 25s given, one to each side
Yep.
of the Nord-West game on Sunday,
Yep.
and I am saying the umpire does not understand the rule
Yep.
blatantly.
Yep.
They were blatant errors of law that he didn't
But-
see. It was just
But
terrible.
that comes from above.
Yes.
Because the
the
AFL
instructions
are
are
the
too
peak,
complicated.
Yep.
Ridiculous.
The peak body.
Yeah.
We were talking about local football off air just before we came on. About some of the shenanigans that go on in the background, but obviously players, also getting involved in melees and giving away free kicks, and how it's all changed completely from a bygone era of the 80s and 90s where it was probably umpired a little bit more simply.
Yeah.
Yep. It's crazy.
Yes.
Let's stay with umpires, mate. AFL contact. Increased penalties for players making accidental contact. It was a big thing a couple of weeks ago when we weren't on air. That seems to have sort of disappeared a little bit in the last couple of weeks. There has been umpire contact, but nothing more has been made of it.
Yeah, it does. I just want to get a bit of consistency. And as I said to you before, for mine, an umpire generally colliding, it's generally the umpire's fault, actually.
Yep.
Sorry, mate, get on with it.
Yep.
Not a problem.
Yep.
And if a guy generally deliberately runs into the umpire, it's not a fine.
Yep.
It's a big suspension.
Yep.
That's what should be happening.
And players are using umpires as shields,
Correct,
so
yeah.
I certainly get that as well.
I think Rao has changed. They did manage him to get
First couple of
space.
weeks, he
Yeah,
was a little bit. Now they've kept him away from.
Yeah.
Do you think personally, and I know that we've talked about it, I think a fair while ago, that the ball up as far as the throw up goes will actually help that?
Yes.
And give them time
it's
to
just
actually
quicker.
get out of the way?
It's just quicker, yeah.
Yep.
And you're not going to be waiting. They're doing it in AFLW.
Yep.
Not going to be waiting for ruckman. If the ruck person isn't there, it's just going to be thrown up, and that's what should be happening.
Absolutely.
Get the game, just keep the game moving, throw it up. And it showed that the umpires bounce where Nankervis and Witts both collided with the umpire.
Yep.
We'll throw the bloody thing up.
Yep.
The only sport in the world you've got to perfect the skill to umpire it, which has nothing to do with the game.
Yep.
It is stupidity to bounce the ball.
There's obviously a lot of traditionalists who like it, but you've told us on many occasions there that obviously, the wear and tear on the body and
massive,
the
mate.
practice hours that have to go into doing that. I mean, I don't know anybody out there, they can let us know on the socials, like, rate and subscribe, as we always say. Let us know whether you've tried it as a player to bounce the ball. It's not the easiest thing in the world at all.
easy.
You end up basically getting a mouthful of football sometimes.
Oh, and if you've umpired enough, every umpire's bounced the ball into their face.
Yep.
I did it at Drossen. Blood absolutely everywhere. And back then you just kept umpiring.
Yep.
And I actually got home and had to throw the shirt out.
Yep.
That was how much blood.
Wow.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy. All right, so we're saying it's a fair call, the umpire contact, but the throw up rather than the ball up will actually
Massively.
sort of help that a little bit.
Well, and again, do you ever go away from the footy and go, geez, how good was the umpires bouncing today?
Not on a regular basis. There might be occasions you go there and you're actually there to witness how good they are. I know my uncle who came over from Ballarat, who was an umpire himself, he did mention at the Adelaide Carlton game, I think, that we went to, there was a shorter takedown and it was a little bit higher. So he was actually watching for it, which then made me watch for it a little bit.
Yeah.
But your general punter's not looking for that either. So it's very, very interesting to see. All right, so we're saying fair call.
And I can't deny I was shit house at it. So probably that's another thing against it, where I'm against it. Anyway.
Yeah. Look, make the job easier for the umpires, that's for sure. All right, let's move on to some AFL hot topics. St Kilda, are they about to implode for trading players or making big contract offers because they've not been seen in this space for a long time? They're looking to make a splash, but it's just got calamity written all over it.
Yeah, it really has. And they're trying, may have been blown up out of proportion, yes, but I'll guarantee you where there's smoke, there's some fire.
It's always the case.
And to be offering Tom, de Koning 1.7 a year is disgraceful.
Now that was reported almost right from, round 4, round 5?
Yeah.
How does that eat away at a club over the season? Because you're sort of almost committing to him, aren't you?
And
his form hasn't been great.
No.
And I'm a Carlton man. I
Yeah.
sit there and watch it, and it's like, is it a case of him checking out? Is it a case of, him not fulfilling potential? It's a worry.
Yeah, and I just for mine, one, I don't think any player's worth that.
Yep.
But two, I'd only be offering it for about 3 players. Anything near that figure for the absolute elite, not Tom de Koning.
Yep.
Yeah, Tom de Koning's a good player with potential.
Serviceable.
Geez, calm down. Hold the phone.
Do you rate him a little bit higher because he can play those multiple positions? As in, is a bit more flexible rather than, say, a stock standard ruckman like a Witts or a Riley O'Brien and stuff like that?
But he certainly really hasn't performed well enough up forward.
Yep.
Maybe he could certainly do it at centre half back, I think, like his brother, but not for that figure.
No.
I want a guy who's going to win me games.
Yep. So obviously,
like that.
We're talking about St Kilda there because some of their more established stars who have been there for quite some time and are basically saying, well, where's our slight pay rise considering we've made all Australians? Yes, all right, we haven't made finals, but, they're still doing their job.
Well, I just think they'd be really that. Hang on, you've gone insane for a play. It's lacking a bit of common sense.
Yep. And while this is all going on, the one player that's under their nose that has got the talent and should be remunerated reasonably well. I think some of the numbers being bandied around at the moment are just extraordinary, but he should be rewarded.
Well, as Lee Matthews said,
yep, your best player on the list.
Your best player gets the best
exactly
the highest amount. You can't argue with that.
Yep, no, that's exactly right. I'm a big fan of Lethal Lee as well. All right, let's move on. Matty Pavlich announced the Sydney's replacement to Tom Harley. What's the biggest change in the AFL that Tom Harley needs to work on, and also Matty Pavlich with his role with Sydney?
Look, Sydney's a well-run club, and Andrew Pridham is a very smart operator, and I think they've set themselves up very well. But Sydney is a tough market.
That's why I ask.
You don't want to fall away. Like, they're not going to make the finals this year. You don't want another bad year because they do drop off. They are theatre goers in Sydney. Like, everyone drops off more than what it used to be. Overall, we lack the loyalty in anything like we used to have. Like, I certainly know.
Well, that's where I actually commend West Coast for actually turning
massively.
up.
Brilliant.
And Adelaide to a certain degree as well, whereas someone like a Port Adelaide or Sydney.
Well, have a look at Richmond. Richmond fall off like rockets in terms of that regard.
Yep. So Matty Pavlich has got a pretty tough job.
Yeah. He's a smart man though, so I see a bit of similarities with Tom there.
This is why I bring it up.
So
and Tommy Harley's biggest job at the AFL. What's the one thing or the one or two things that he needs to just go in there and go bang straight from the get go? You've already mentioned the tribunal.
Look, Hales is a great communicator. He'll go in and he'll assess things quietly in his own way and then make changes. He won't go in off a whim and off a bang straight away. He's more calculated than that.
Do you think he's had enough time to sit back and just assess what's going on behind the scenes?
He's still doing the job at Sydney at the moment.
Yeah.
So,
but that's why I ask. Like, is it a case of him sitting back and?
He'd be reviewing some things behind the scenes a bit and all that. He'd certainly, he's the most with Fred Block. He's the late great man, Chocker.
Yes.
He is the most other well-organised male I've ever met.
Yep.
No, as I said to his dad, Rick, he's that bloody organised, he should be female. And Rick said, yep, that's fair.
Yep. Nope.
So I'm sure he'd be doing the thing, but also knowing Hales, he wouldn't be neglecting Sydney.
No.
So, yeah.
Yep. Sydney have actually showed some form, but it's, again, you like we talked about a bit earlier on, injuries play a big part. All of a sudden they get a couple back and they look a completely different side.
Yeah, I just wish Grundy wasn't injured. I reckon they were a big chance against Geelong before Grundy getting injured.
Yep. We'll talk about Geelong in a minute or two. The coaching merry-go-round. Melbourne is in the market for a new coach, but Carlton stay fat with Michael Voss.
Yeah. Look, and let's also remember, Richmond went within a bee's dick of sacking Hardwick. Geelong were very close to sacking Bomber Thompson and stuck with him and see what the rewards were in the end. Yep. So, does
someone like a Matty Nix sort of give hope as well? Because he wasn't within an inch of losing his job, but this year was a make and break year, and it all has come together quite nicely.
I also didn't mind a comment last week where said this actually keeps the pressure on the Carlton players. That they've too often have had an out and they've sacked the coach, gone through, Teague, Bolton,
Moldhouse,
bang, bang.
Yep.
So this actually puts a bit more pressure on the players. I thought that's not a bad point. I don't mind that.
Yep. Unfortunately, Carlton people, they want fast results and pretty quickly as well. So it's very, very interesting. Let's talk about some of the games last week. Hawthorn were the big surprise there against Collingwood.
And it wasn't only the fact they won that they bolted in and it was a style and they looked too quick. Collingwood looked slow.
Yep.
Admittedly, they likely get McCreery and Hill back this week, which changes that automatically. So two quick players, suddenly you don't look slow.
Yep.
So it's incredible in that way. So yeah,
we'll talk about the Adelaide Collingwood game in a minute. Geelong getting up over Essendon by 44 points. Probably the big talking point there is, are they looking for Jezza a little bit too much?
They are, but they're still winning pretty easy.
Yep. Are they the Smokies at this stage, the quiet achievers that nobody's actually giving a lot of time to?
Well, I think they are because also they've got the least injuries. Mm-hmm. They've got no one out who would be in their team at the moment. Colin Jasny was fringe. He'd be a maybe.
Yep.
Conway's now got injured, but he's only a maybe as well.
And they've had a pretty soft draw when you think about it as well for the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Richmond just going down to St Kilda by 4 points.
Bizarre game.
Yeah.
Both teams just too defensive, not really trying to attack.
Yep.
I get where he's like let guys behind the ball and be defensive, make it a contest, but I don't get it that against Collingwood he allowed Dacos to run around and Dacos had 42 touches and allowed Wanganeen-Malira to run around. And I'm sorry, if you're playing St Kilda, put 2 guys on Wanganeen-Malira.
Yep.
You know, so his coaching's been a bit bizarre this year as well. There's been some good things, but, some weird things. And, the stupidity of – I think where he got away from where became – it's all very well and good to have this us versus them. And, Brad Scott did it with Eston this week and it's crap.
Yep.
And he went too far earlier in the year over you-know-who. And, that just lacked – I think that would have left a few – and it did, left a few people with bad taste thinking, no, don't dare defend that.
Would it have been it's been a successful year for Richmond when you think about it as a whole.
Oh, they've won 5 more games than I thought.
Yeah, and I'm in the same boat as well. Do you think that if they'd gotten up over St Kilda, that would have been a overachievement in a long, long way? I mean, they've certainly overachieved winning 5 games, but beating St Kilda, who still have some quality players, don't get me wrong.
They were also 5 goals up against GWS in the last quarter, so they could have now won 7.
Yep,
which is crazy, really, for the list.
Well, it's probably to get excited as a Richmond supporter as well. This one went down to the wire. It was an absolute beauty, and Brisbane Lions left their run just a little bit too late.
Yeah,
Sydney were all over them all day, weren't they?
Yeah, and then when Grundy got injured, they went into game survival mode, not trying to kick another goal. And Goulden actually made a rare error when they were 20 points up.
Yep.
They get a goal there and they're 26 points up with under 2 minutes to go, by the way. So, so it was a bit crazy.
The Ashcrofts lit up, especially when, things got close there and they were able to get the ball out of the middle.
The one thing, though, I will say is the scoreboard, though, flattered Sydney. Let's remember that Brisbane had 65 inside 50s to 52.
Yep.
Sydney's defence was fantastic.
Yes.
So, ditto to,
and
it's all very well, though. So, that AFL.com.au, the reviews the round.
Yep.
And I get it so that people can't have seen all the games by that stage. So they're relying a bit on what they're told and all that.
Yep.
But Kate McCarthy put her foot in it about 3 times last Saturday night.
Yep.
Be better.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Fair enough. And Brisbane, maybe a wake-up call they need as well, because at the moment they're going up and down a bit like a yo-yo. They were belted by Gold Coast, then they were up for Collingwood.
I reckon injuries have just caught up, though. Like Lockie Newell getting injured and then Starcevic pulling out. So they also had missing 4 players from their defensive 6 from last year's grand final.
Yep.
So Starcevic, Ainsworth, Payne and Leicester. Mm-hmm. So it's big 4 out of 6 and Coleman injured as well.
Mm-hmm.
Doty's first game in 2.5 years. Yep. So I reckon they've just reached the spot on their list where you get that fall away a bit.
It's balancing a bit. Do you still see them as premiership favourites?
Not now because they,
just off question without notice, who is your premiership favourite just quietly right now? right at this very moment.
If I'm forced to tip someone at the moment, I'm going Geelong.
You and me both. I'm in the same boat as well.
Yeah.
Brisbane with those players back make a huge difference.
So, but Brisbane, Freo v Brisbane in Perth this week.
It's an interesting watch.
Massive.
Absolutely. Carlton going down to Gold Coast by 19 points. Again, another important win for Gold Coast.
Yeah, they just did enough. King was very good.
Yeah, he was.
Rao was good. I will give the young fella Cooper Lord did a very good job on Anderson.
Yes.
So a bit of ticks there for Carlton as well. That at least they were more competitive.
Yeah, Frankie Evans. I was surprised he didn't get in the votes because at one stage they were comparing him to Darren Jarman, who is actually coming up in our flashbacks a little bit later on for the people that hang on to listen and watch all of our episode there. Port Adelaide with an effort against, obviously, Fremantle, which we talked about. The Giants taking care of North Melbourne by 54 points. Certainly something that you would expect. But Melbourne were up and about with a new coach against the Bulldogs, and the Bulldogs left it a little bit late with their run, but got over the line as well.
8 lead changes there and all that in the last quarter. So in the last quarter and a bit it was.
Yep.
I admit I only saw bits of that game.
Yes.
And that. So it was amusing too when I got on the plane and the Crows were 10 points down in the last quarter.
Yes.
I could not get the reception
the Wi-Fi,
to work in the sky.
Yep.
So
that'll be the longest 45 minutes in the air.
I didn't know whether Adelaide had won until we land. Two messages come through and I'm thinking, he wouldn't have messaged if Adelaide had lost.
Yeah,
so I worked that out before I clicked on.
No, fair enough. All right, let's get on to this week's games, make some tips, and then we better get off to a quick break. Essendon v St Kilda on Friday night at 6:50 p.m. at Marvel Stadium.
I'll go the Saints.
This double header on a Friday night, it just doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, that's the way it goes. This is the one we all want to watch. Fremantle v Brisbane at Optus Stadium, 8:05 p.m.
If in doubt, go the home side.
Yep. This one's going to be, could you imagine a draw? That would really throw the ladder predictors into...
It would, but Brisbane have already had the one draw, so it actually...
helps them.
No, their percentage isn't great, so it could be interesting.
There you go. Neither team wants to lose, so they're going to be red hot. Gold Coast v the Giants. This one's got some interest about it.
It certainly has. Again, if in doubt, the home side. I've got my doubts whether Hogan will come up. Stringer now being ruled out, so I'll go.
For me, I'm going Gold Coast at home as well. Carlton v Port Adelaide. Is it an audition for Ken Hinkley for the development role? We didn't cover it earlier.
Yeah, I still reckon. I reckon Tasmania's a role there is awaiting.
Yep.
As well.
Yep.
I'll go Carlton.
Carlton for me as well. Hawthorn v Melbourne.
Hawthorn
for me. Adelaide v Collingwood. Adelaide Oval, 7:05 p.m. Saturday night.
Purely on form, you have to go for Adelaide. On form at the moment. Look, Collingwood travel brilliantly. They get McCreery and Hill back.
Yep.
They're a big chance, but...
even though Collingwood are Adelaide's bogey side?
Yeah. But it's not like they've got blown away the last few times as well by them. I'll go Adelaide, but... certainly Collingwood, obviously a huge chance. Obviously a huge chance.
Absolutely. Adelaide for me being at this Adelaide Oval. I think also the wake-up call from West Coast, a lot of players and coaches were like, it felt like a loss. I think that's a good thing.
There's another point there. That Adelaide have played 3 games at the G this year. Now, Essendon and Richmond are 2 of them. So pretty hard to get a gauge there.
Yep.
I thought they were good against Collingwood the game they lost.
Yes.
Let's also remember, Optus is exactly the same size as the G.
Yep.
They were terrible against Fremantle and very average against West Coast. Is there something they've got to modify in their game for that size?
For that little bit of ground. There you go. You've heard it first, ladies and gentlemen. We'll keep a bit of an eye on that one as well. North Melbourne v Richmond.
Yeah, I still think North Melbourne have got better there, but... they've been terrible. Richmond have been showing a bit more.
Yep. Now, it is down in Hobart.
I know it is. Yeah, but I'm going to go Richmond.
Okay, I'm going to go North Melbourne, but...
North Melbourne should win,
Yep.
but
At
the moment, geez.
Hey, you might as well throw the playbook out and just let them play and see what you get. Sydney v Geelong, big out with obviously Grundy with concussion.
Out for Grant. massive out, too big an out for mine. I actually thought Sydney. I was going to tip Sydney if Grundy was playing, but no, I'll go Geelong.
He's certainly been the informed ruckman, certainly for the last 6 to 8 weeks as well, and a pretty consistent season. Geelong for me there. Western Bulldogs v the West Coast Eagles.
Western Bulldogs.
All right, let's look at the ladder very quickly. Adelaide sitting on top. Now, here's where it gets interesting. You've got Geelong, Collingwood and Fremantle all sitting on 60 points. Then you've got Brisbane Lions, Brisbane Lions on 58, Gold Coast on 56, Hawthorn on 56 and GWS on 56 as well, with Western Bulldogs just outside of the 8. Who's the unlucky team that misses out, mate?
At the moment, I'm going to say Brisbane.
Yep.
But I reckon that'll change by
fair enough.
By 6 o'clock Sunday night.
Brisbane are the one.
Could be Fremantle still.
Yeah.
If Fremantle lose to Brisbane, then I'm saying Fremantle.
For me, it's either Fremantle or GWS. They're probably the two that miss out.
Yeah.
Who's the one team, say, you're obviously an Adelaide man, and I will be this year because Carlton are not in it, but if Adelaide are playing in the finals, who don't they want to play in that bottom 4?
Personally, Western Bulldogs.
Yep.
Because I just think if Darcy and their midfield and Darcy and Norton have an on day, I still think they can blow any team out the water.
Yep.
I know that sounds ridiculous when they're 2-8 against the other top sides.
Yes.
But I just think
they're the ones that could turn it on quite quickly.
Yeah, but GWS, still probably produced the best half of football for the year against Sydney that game.
Yep.
So I honestly think any of the 9 teams, it's still crazy. But I think that's how it is this year.
It certainly is. For me, it's probably, as I said, it's either GWS or Fremantle. So, look, anything can happen. The ladder predictors are going to change on Monday morning,
massively.
I'm sure. That's exactly right. All right, mate, let's have a look at what's coming up. Coming up next, we'll have a quick talk about the cricket, especially up in the top end. How good is it? And the SANFL, we should commence Sturt on obviously going through currently undefeated, winning 30 minor round games over the last 2 seasons. And the netball, it is silly season in the netball with a lot of changes happening around the league.
You're listening to the Game On Podcast. We'll be right back after this short break.
A dents and scratches putting a dent in your day? Introducing Roger Steen Crash Repairs Adelaide, your trusted solution for automotive woes. With over 2 decades of expertise, Roger Steen Crash Repairs guarantees top-notch service, restoring your vehicle to its former glory in no time. From minor dings to major collisions, our skilled technicians handle it all with precision and care, using state-of-the-art equipment and techniques.
Roger Steen Crash Repairs saved my car. It looks brand new.
Fast, friendly and reliable. I wouldn't trust anyone else with my vehicle. Don't let accidents slow you down. Visit Roger Steen Crash Repairs Adelaide at 14 Penner Avenue, Glynde, for quality service you can count on. And here's a special offer just for our listeners. Mention this podcast and receive a $100 discount on your repair. Roger Steen Crash Repairs Adelaide. Excellence in every repair.
All right, as per usual, we thank our sponsors for helping us out on the podcast. And if you have got a business and you'd like to help us out and sponsor us, we'll certainly throw you in the ad mix for sure as well. Definitely. All right, let's start off with cricket, mate. Up in the top end. I know it's only T20, and I know you're not overly excited about the T20s, mate, but how good is it to have quality cricket basically up in the top end there?
And it's one of the spectators' catches last night.
Yes, I heard about that one.
Pretty incredible, holding 2 beers in one hand and caught it in the other.
And didn't spill a drop.
No.
That is an impressive feat.
I didn't mind Mark Waugh's line where he said he was disappointed that he didn't have a fag in his mouth as well. I thought that wasn't a bad line.
There's been a couple going around on socials about a guy in the baseball. He's basically got a beer in one hand, a baby tucked under the arm, lets go of the baby, catches the ball, catches the baby and still doesn't spill a drink and then knocks it back. Unbelievable.
Well played.
Exactly right. Right through to the keeper there. Mate, obviously Australia are playing in the T20 up in the top end there. Obviously the local domestic competition will start off with some of their comps up there as well. Is this good for the overall game development?
Yeah, I certainly think in terms of creating interest in the top end and all that side of things.
Yep. And the weather's actually pretty
it's
reasonable.
Fantastic cricket. So, hopefully it's there because also it's a blight on cricket how few Indigenous players have gone through. So if that creates some interest in the top end, I think that's pretty important in the long run. I will say so far from the 2 games played, Tim David's easily been the standout for Australia, but the standout overall was Dewald Brevis last night.
Yes, he went nuts.
He was 125 or 56 balls with 12 fours and 8 sixes. Was incredible. And he's been called the mini after the De Villiers. So
yes,
the mini,
AB De Villiers.
Mini ABD for a while.
Yep.
And he was incredible, but he's now played, I think they said after last night, I think that was his 110th 2020 game.
Wow. Okay.
So he's hardly played anything else.
Yep.
And look,
is that the way? Is that the way the game's going? Where you will be a specialist,
like Tim David is. Tim David's a gun for hire at all the domestic comps around the world, and they say he may well be Australia's wealthiest current cricketer.
Wow!
In terms of what he's getting each year, purely out of the game, not so maybe much as say for endorsements, like a Cummings and all that.
Yep.
But they're saying purely getting money paid for the game, he's probably number one.
Wow. So do we then see a changing of the guard with some of the well-known, more established players maybe not playing as much of that cricket? And then these guys become
I think
superstars in their own right?
Guys become more and more 2020 just players, but it's been good to see where a Stark's been fantastic. He's kept knocking that back over the years and all that. Generally, players have wanted to concentrate and play for us. I think Tim David's the only one who's gone and concentrated there because I'm not even sure if he's played a Shield game.
Yep.
So, let's see just out of interest, see if I can find
that. Yeah, no worries.
Where he's been the one guy who's really concentrated on the 2020 circuit.
Yep. There you go.
Because there were rumours that Mitch Owen was going to do that, and he said no, he wants to try and play.
Well, I mean, really, the pinnacle of any cricketer would be to play Test cricket, wouldn't it? That's just, from the outside, but it is a changing younger demographic that maybe representing in T20 is the way to go. We sat here last week. We talked about England and India. Obviously, that tight 5th day in their Test. Has it ignited Test cricket that it's given it a bit of an injection as far as a bit of razzmatazz and a bit of back and forth, leading in obviously to the Australian-England Ashes this summer?
No doubt about that whatsoever. It's been considered the best series in England since the 2005 Ashes. Mm-hmm. So I think it's good for for that side of things.
Yep.
So hopefully, creates more interest in the game overall.
Yep.
So
we talk about the big 3, obviously Australia, England and India. Who's the 4th that would be able to hold world cricket up if it went to that sort of
I think it's really only considered the big 3.
Really?
Yeah. They're the 3 with the
That's
most
a bit
money.
of a worry for cricket, isn't it?
Yeah.
Something will need to be done there. We did touch on
I think he's now played for 20 sides in 2020 cricket.
Oh, wow. There you go. There's a nice little statistic there as well.
Doing a quick Google there.
Yep.
And it doesn't look, I'm not saying 20 games at list A.
Yep.
Nothing coming up for first class cricket. So it does look like he hasn't.
Oh, there you go.
Which I kept racking my brains thinking, I don't think he has.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Good call there. Thank you for looking that one up. We did touch on it a little bit last week, but let's talk about it a little bit more. Jake Weatherall, could he be the man to open if he keeps scoring runs? And obviously the opening rounds of the domestic season are probably going to help that.
I obviously certainly hope so.
Yep.
And just to keep messaging the word relax.
That's it.
So,
Yep.
yes.
One day at a time. I love it. All right, let's move on to the SANFL, mate. Sturt are about to achieve what looks like an undefeated minor round season. I did hear a stat on the weekend, and I sort of did check it up, but I couldn't quite get all of it. They've won basically 30 games in a row now in the minor rounds.
Yeah, no, they've been incredible. Now, whether they can do that on Adelaide Oval, now they got shown out at Adelaide Oval last year, so it's going to be interesting.
Yep.
Adelaide start the finals, possibility of a Michael Annie playing and
Yep.
that side of things. Puts them probably in the mix, and who knows how far they keep going at AFL level. So that means they keep being interested at SANFL level.
Yep.
So yes, all sorts of things could happen there.
Yep.
And Glenelg, purely their finals performances the last couple of years, as much as I still last year's grand final still eats away.
That's okay, mate. That's okay.
Brings back just shocking memories straight away.
Yep.
Another voodoo thing doll
does
and a
Sturt
Jade
sort of-
Rawlings doll.
Yes.
Yes.
Does Sturt's form over the last 2 years sort of remind you of Nord's 15-16 or 14-15
12, 13,
back?
14.
12, 13,
yeah.
14, sorry.
Yeah, but they didn't. So confident. The players believed they were going to win the flag.
But
each time.
this is where Sturt's at the moment, isn't it? But they didn't quite get the job done last year, did
The
they?
fact, because they lost those two finals last year, I think there'd still be question marks where the Nord guys, they certainly believed they were going to win.
Yep. And you need that little bit of confidence, don't you, going in? A few results going away, the way that we expected, but a few that were a little bit close. And let's have a look at this. Glenelg just getting up over North Adelaide.
Yeah, still do what they have to in the crunch. I still think that three-headed, the forward line of McBean, Reynolds and Hosey is still easily the best forward line at SANFL level.
Absolutely. They look like they're in second, going into third gear at the moment, and timing their run very, very nicely for the finals. So, yeah, it'll be very interesting.
They're going to
see how it
play,
goes.
they play the qualifying final. Glenelg Adelaide qualifying final will be a good game.
Absolutely. Nord getting up over West Adelaide by a solitary point, and I know you weren't on the scoreboard, but you were on the scoreboard. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that was Saturday. Melbourne was Sunday.
Okay.
Westies were too tall for us.
Right.
Westies ruckman, I think it was Mays. We were mucking around the Red League because he was in there in the Red Leagues club afterwards. That we were going to have to raise the roof to get him in. It's how bloody tall he was.
Wow.
And he made Luke Sermon look like a rover.
Wow.
Rucking against him, and Scully, and I'm a Scully fan. Now, Brenton Phillips. Hopefully, I'm not speaking out of school here, but I always talk to Sticks before the draft, and I agree with Sticks's point. We're saying either have the anti-density rule in every grade, or don't have it at all.
Well, mate, I've been saying that for almost a
Because
year and a half
it's
now.
crazy because you're drafting on
A different-
junior football.
different
It's a different
competition.
game.
Yep.
So it's just crazy. Now I think Scully's got the flick too early.
Yep.
I really hope another club picks him up because I still think he's got plenty to offer.
Absolutely. Maybe that's when you make that call to Tommy Harley there, maybe that's something you can suggest as well, that it's a bit of uniformity across all grades as the peak organisation or the peak body.
Well, there's this theory that they want to see the skills more in the juniors, but so
Well,
we can
don't-
assess them more.
But
Well,
don't we
hang
want to
on.
see the skills in the seniors?
But you're then drafting on a different rules.
Yep.
It's just crazy.
Let's get back to the old rule. Whatever's done at the top level filters its way through to the lower levels. Certainly, the modified ones for the under 9s and under 8s and stuff like that, that's fine. But the problem with the rules that we've got at the moment is that if you're looking how AFL games are going, and some SANFL games to a certain degree, is that it's a rolling maul, and that's brought about because of Auskick, basically. We've got a generation of players that have been through that, where it's see ball, get ball, and everybody goes there. So, interesting. Word under Nord getting up over West by a point. Obviously, Nord not kicking very accurately there.
No.
That's probably the most frustrating. Jackson Callow is obviously back this week.
No, he's not.
Oh, not this week.
No, another one, yeah.
He's got one more to go. Just before we move off of Nord, player that we've had on the podcast here that got a call to go over to St Kilda. We wish our very best to Harry Boyd, who's having some surgery, I believe.
Yeah, he's had a few worries for a while.
Been sort of knocked about a bit.
Yeah,
So
no, message.
Yep,
in the next
absolutely.
day, so.
Best of luck to Harry Boyd there. All right, Sturt getting the job done over the Eagles. Adelaide getting the job done over South Adelaide.
Yep.
And the one that, like you mentioned a little bit earlier on, we thought Centrals would get the job done against Port, but Port threw one a spanner in the works there.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yes.
All right.
So.
Moving into the finals, it's going to get down to between Port Adelaide, Nord and Woodville West Torrens. What's your thoughts, mate?
Oh, look, I still think that side, whoever it is making up the numbers.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd love Nord, obviously, to go through, but I think there's a gap between the top three and everyone else.
Yep.
A significant
Yep.
gap.
It's funny, in the AFL, we've almost got exactly the same thing as what we've got in the SANFL here, where 3/4 of the playing list is basically out of finals or not quite finals ready.
Even the week before, I don't think Nord deep down believed they were good enough to beat Adelaide. So I think that's a real hard one to assess as well.
Obviously, a changeover for Nord this year. Losing their first 5 didn't exactly help that as well, and a few injuries along the way. Still your pick for premiership, or you got Glenelg?
No, I'm Glenelg. I'm still
Glenelg.
Glenelg.
Yep, fair enough. All right, let's move on to netball very, very quickly. Let the silly season begin for all our netball listeners out there, if they're still hanging on. There has been a lot of movement, and we might touch base with that a little bit more next week.
It's pretty hard to keep up with.
The Thunderbirds are well and truly there, but all of the other teams have got massive changes, left, right and centre, with a couple of retirements and players transferring, and it's just crazy. Let's talk basketball very quickly. The Adelaide Thunderbirds have a new exciting logo. To think we almost lost them to the competition.
Yeah, thank goodness where Peter Malinowskis, obviously a sporting background, and yes, I'm a huge Mally fan.
Yep.
I do know him. I used to work for him,
Yes.
obviously, and things like that. So I've known him for donkey's years, but I just think he gets it.
Yep.
And
Fair enough. All right, mate, we're going to take another very, very quick break because we're going to run out of time very, very quickly. After the break, we'll just play the flashbacks and sit back some of these Adelaide fans and enjoy some of Darren Jarman's magic. Before we do that, coming up, Jake Lehmann Part 1. We did have some technical issues last week, but we've got that all sorted out, and Greg Edwards as well on Monday in our encore episode.
You're listening to the Game On Podcast. We'll be right back after this short break.
Looking to buy or sell your home anywhere in Adelaide, from the hills to the sea? Meet Gary KRIEVS, your dedicated local agent from OUWENS CASSERLY Real Estate. With unparalleled knowledge of Adelaide's housing market and a commitment to exceptional service, Gary ensures a smooth and stress-free experience for all your real estate needs. Trust the expert, trust Gary KRIEVS at OUWENS CASSERLY Real Estate. Your next dream home awaits. Contact Gary today on 0422 071 317 or on email garyk@ocre.com.au. And for more listings, please visit owenscasserly.com.au. Make it happen.
Flashbacks.
Booms one in towards the big guards, and Jarman rises above the pack. So this for his 200th career goal and his second for the day, but more importantly to keep the Crows in touch, to give them some faint hope.
He goes long, Jarman's at full forward, he jumps and Darren Jarman, the meat in the sandwich. And how high did he get? Goes short. Finds Johnson. He's got it, Jarman. Darren Jarman. The spotlight is on him. 35 metres out. The Crows are in front. Edwards gets back there. The hand pass away. Jamison. Siren. Crows are in the grand
May we cut the flashbacks tonight a little bit short on the basis that we're going to run out of time here, but we'll save over the next couple of weeks. We'll do part 4 and part 3 and part 2 of some Darren and Jarman magic. Mate, let's move on. AFL round 1 starts this week. But AFLW starts this week, round number 1. It's sort of being overshadowed and we haven't had much publicity around it.
I just think it's ridiculous. They had the perfect spot. The Big Bash finishing, we've all spoken about it. You're ready for football. There was, now you don't play the matinee after the main movie.
Yep.
And it's ridiculous to be starting now and with all games on. So this week, there's 18 games on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we've had enough. The AFL season's not exactly keeping your interest with so many crap games on Thursday, Friday night. And now you're adding another 9 games in this way. I think it's just stupidity.
Yep. Do you think that they did talk about the numbers dropping away on the AFL, and it's obviously being overshadowed? AFLW, sorry, my apologies. AFLW being overshadowed by ongoing costs. Since those first couple of years, their numbers have dropped off quite dramatically, and I think this is part and parcel of it.
Yeah, yep. Because you're ready for football. You were really ready for footy.
Yep.
And yes, there was problems with the hot weather. I get that, but that's far less than the stupidity of what they've got at the moment.
Make more night games where people are out and about during daylight savings and looking for something to do.
Yep.
Turn it into a carnival atmosphere.
Yep.
That sort of leads me to my next point. Should the AFLW consolidate grounds to save on money with the season starting so late? Is there been a bit of footy fatigue?
Yeah, I think there is.
Yep.
If your team at the moment isn't in the finals, contending, you've had enough by now. And yet we're going to start a new season and try and get, we want the followers to follow both. Well, no, start it at a far better time.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you there, mate. Consolidating grounds, I'm not 100% convinced on this. Yes, I reckon it might save some money. But I think the big draw card initially was that they were going back to their local suburban clubs, which gave that community club feel about it.
Although I do see the point of, 2 or 3 games, make it into a day and all that. So I see that point as well. But
It makes it hard, that's for sure. All right, let's move on quite quickly. Josh Giddey, his contract's going down to the wire, and it's in a real no-win situation at the moment, but it could end up in another powerhouse where Chicago got their man under their nose, and yet they're balking at paying him basically what he's worth.
As you said on here, no one wins.
Exactly right. Future's up in the air. All right, let's move on quite quickly. Locally, the 36ers look to be primed for a good start to the season. Yeah. But can they pull it all together? Yeah, that's the big question. Exactly right. Let's move on to, we might leave the NRL to next week. Let's talk tennis very quickly. Alex Dimona showing some class, obviously winning the Washington Open, but Popperin sneaking up to 21 in the world. That's quite an interesting...
it is, isn't it?
Yeah, because you don't hear him. He's sort of a little bit off Broadway. But he's getting the job done when he needs to as well. Yep. Mayer Joint, currently the one to watch for the Australians' breakout year in 2025. Big wins over top 10 players and now is inside the top 50, which is a huge jump in 1 year.
Yeah, go Smoker. She could be the one.
Absolutely. Going back to Wimbledon, we didn't get a chance to talk about this one here, but some awkward moments with both Wimbledon winners being suspended or having doping bans against them. A little bit embarrassing for the ITF or the ATP and the WTA. Yeah. Well, the Australian player gets basically rubbed out for, 12 months or more and had to give back money, and Sinner just a quiet little 3-month slap on the wrist. Yep, good call. Yes. It is certainly not a good look, that's for sure.
No, it's done.
The other one, mate, that's come up over the last couple of weeks is Oscar Piastri. Will he become Australia's best ever F1 driver? And he's going to go close to winning the championship this year.
Yeah, imagine if he actually got some support from McLaren.
Yeah. I did talk to a very close friend about that, and he said, it was a little bit of team stuff, but it was also a little bit of a mistake by Piastri. So, not on the same page there. Liv Adelaide golf dates have been announced February 13th, 2026, but it's more the event past that is up in the air.
It's interesting, isn't it?
It is. It's going to be one of those ones to watch, and we might talk about that one. And one last one, mate. We will leave the good, the bad, the ugly this week, but I'm going to give you a bit of a hypothetical that if you had enough money to force your way onto a sporting field or a game, what one would you pick? Because it did happen in the US, and it was on a tennis court too, which is not a good look once again.
Yeah, I'm a cricket nut, so it's probably a test match at Lord's.
There you go.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
What happened here was a billionaire basically put himself in a doubles event with a well-known established player, admittedly coming towards the end of his career. He ended up playing against Bernard Tomic. This is why it sort of made a bit of headlines here. But, basically couldn't cope playing on the circuit, and he's basically bought his way onto a game, which is just absolutely crazy. All right, mate, we better wind things up there. Once again, it's been a fantastic episode. Please like, rate, subscribe, and share with friends, family, and anybody that wants to be involved. Mate, we got through this week. We have to do better next week. We did better than last week. We were a little bit over the shop with a few things, but we've got through in one take tonight, which is very, very good. So, mate, thank you for your time once again. Thank everybody else for their time. And once again, we'll see you guys next week. Thanks, everyone.
In this crazy world we live in, we all need the distraction. Enjoying the show? Like, rate, and subscribe. Hook up and connect with us on social media at Sportscast SA. We'll see you next time on Game On.